Alright, here we have the vintage cruiser 2020 19 ERD. This is the video walkthrough for it. Up front you got your front tongue jack. You have up and down. You have a light right here if you're hooking up when it's dark. Your 7-way and chains are up here. And then this little cable is breakaway, basically emergency brake. So if your trailer were to ever come off the ball and the chains failed, this little pin right here would pull out, just lock up your brakes, so that it's not going way behind. You have your 12-volt battery here. You have your sewer hose storage right here. This little tab just flips up, pops open, put your hose in there, and then close it up. And then you have your propane tank covers right here. Your propane tanks are under those. So these little nuts just unscrew, that pops out. And then this flips up so you have access to the top of them. And then your cover slides up. And your tanks are right here. So this valve, you just open it up. And then your regulator right here. There's a little tab with an arrow on it pointing to what tank it's drawing from. So it's drawing from this one. And then there's a little window right here. It's clear right now. That means there's gas going through it. If the tank goes empty, a little red slide would come up, and that would be red, telling you there's no gas going through. If this tank is also on, if they're both on, if this one goes empty, the little valve in here will switch over and start drawing from this one. But if you go and take either one off to go get it filled, just make sure you switch that to the one that you're using. It'll shut off either side that you take off, so no gas is leaking through. And then this slides on, and there is a little strap right here. It'll just go through that hole right there. And then you pull it tight and velcros, and it'll hold the cover on for you. That back on, and then your nuts, you just flip that up, give it a couple turns to tighten it, and then that's all ready to go. Moving down, you have front storage. Each door has magnets on it to hold it open, so you got your storage right there. Then on each corner, so 2 in the front and 2 in the back, is your stabilizer jack. So once you get it leveled and off the truck, you just crank those down until they hit the ground, or if you have blocks under them. Then once they're touching, just give it 1/2 to 3/4 of a crank just to put a little pressure on it. You do not want to try and lift up the camper with these jacks, or else they will bend. They're only made to stabilize it, take the shake out of it going in and out and walking around, so don't lift it with them. Then this little cap right here screws off. This is where you fill your fresh water tank, so there's portable water. If you're traveling far, going to a state park, you'll have water on board, and all you do is just put your hose in there and just let it fill. It's gravity fed. The drain for that is right there. There's a little cap that'll screw onto it to plug it up so the water stays in. Moving down, you have your city water hookup. So that's where you hook up your hose with the pressure regulator on it. And then the other end will hook up to the campground water source. And you'll have water instantly to all your faucets. You have a spray port right here. So there's a hose in there. Just like a air hose connection, you push that coupler back, push the hose in, and it'll lock on, and then you'll be able to rinse things off that are dirty outside. This has a black tank flush, so when you're dumping your tanks, you can hook a hose up to here, and it'll flush out your black tank for you, which is your toilet wastewater. And your sewer drain is down below those. So this cap just twists off, then you hook the hose up there, twist it on, and each valve is labeled, so your sewer holding tank is right here. All you have to do is just pull that out and it will start coming out. Once that's drained, close it. Then you can pull the gray tank and it'll clean out your pipe for you so it doesn't leave a mess behind. And when, like I said, when you're hooking up to a black tank flush, just make sure that valve is open, because if you get carried away and that's closed, the only place for the water and sewer to go is up through the vent on the roof. So that'll make a mess and you don't want to do that, so just make sure that valve's open when you're doing that. Then you have your exhaust for your furnace right here. Just make sure nothing's in the way of that, obstructing the airflow, and that gets pretty hot coming out of there, so it'll melt or burn whatever it's near. And also this metal piece gets hot, so just don't touch that when you're using it. Up above that is the vent for the stovetop vent fan. Right here, it's a little hard to see, but there's little tabs. You just pull on those right there, and that flips open. And then once you turn the fan on, it'll open even more, venting out. When you're traveling or not using it, just make sure those are snapped back in, so no water, debris, or bugs get inside. Moving down a little further, you have your power hookup. So your power cord right here. Twist it and wiggle it to have it come off. You'll see one prong is L-shaped, and there's an L-shaped one there. So there's only one way for this to go on. Line those up, wiggle it on, and then just give it a twist to lock it. And then this little black coupler just screws on, making sure that it definitely won't come off. This is a 30 amp service, so when you go to campgrounds, just make sure you get that 30 amp hookup. When you're at home, you can get an adapter and plug into a household outlet or an extension cord. That'll just keep your battery charged, get your fridge cold before you go out on your trip. The only thing you can't run when you're hooked up to your house, if you don't have a 30 amp outlet, you just can't run the air conditioner because that requires that 30 amp breaker. If you're trying to use your house outlet with the air conditioner, it will burn up your cord, so just don't do that. Then you have cable and satellite hookup here. So you have cable. If you go to a campground, they have cable hookups. You can hook it up there. And then if you have a satellite dish or whatever, you can hook it up there. And then you have your water heater right here, so that tab will just flip up and you twist it, and the cover comes down. This right here is the plug and anno rod, and that just goes in that hole right there. Tighten it down, plug it so the water stays in. And the anno rod part of it is so that the calcium in the water will eat away at that rod instead of the tank. I'll show you the end of it. You see there's a little pin in the center. Once you can see about 85 to 90% of that pin, that's when you replace this. You don't want to replace it each year because these are a little expensive. They'll probably last you a couple seasons. So once you can see about 80% of that little pin rod, that's when you replace that. This is the cap for the freshwater drain I was telling you about. And then this water heater is gas and electric. For the electric, the switch is right here, so you have on and off. Once you're plugged in, you come out and flip it on. Make sure there is water in the tank before you flip that on or turn on the gas. If you flip on the electric with it empty, it'll burn out the heating element. And then with the gas, it'll just make the tank really hot and it'll burn the styrofoam surrounding it. So you just want to make sure there's water inside the tank before turning it on. And then this is the pressure release valve. So when you go and drain it at the end of the year, you just pull that to release the pressure, and then you can pull the plug out. if you pull the plug before releasing the pressure, it will shoot out. And if you're in the way, it might cause some damage, or it'll just shoot very far if something's near it. It'll damage that. So just make sure you release the pressure before pulling the plug. Moving the back, there's nothing really back here. There is a dummy for a backup camera. So if you wanted to get a backup camera, that will just unscrew. It's just plug and play. So it's a nice option to have. Moving to the passenger side, you got your entry door here and your steps. You just pull right here. It's easy to do it with 2 hands, but you just lift up. There's a little pin there on each side. You just lift it up so it goes above that. It slides out. And then this step right here, you pull that handle and it'll fold down. And then it's just backwards, putting it back in. Right here, this black cover is for the back of the fridge. And there is a hose sticking out. It has a little cover with holes in it so no bugs will get in there. That is the drainage for condensation. So it'll come outside the unit instead of dripping on the floor inside. You'll never have to go back there. That's just where we service it. It's where the pilot and the electric plug-in is for it. And then you have a TV mount outside. So if you want to bring your TV outside, the mount inside will come off. It just slides up. And you bring it out here and it'll slide in. It's just a little V. It'll go right in there. Then you have outlets to plug it in, or if you have lights or whatever. And then the cable for the TV goes right here. And this is for only coming out. It doesn't hook up here and then go into the camper. It just comes out. So the other one on the other side is for going through the camper into it, and then this one is for out to the TV. You have a couple outside speakers, and there are lights in those, so those light up along with the awning. There's lights under those. Other side of the storage compartment, that's the hose I was telling you about for the spray port, so that end will go into that little coupler. And then you have a couple cranks. So this bigger one is for the stabilizer jacks. That end will just go onto the drive nut right there. You just crank it down. Or some people use a drill, and it's a 3/4 inch socket if you want to do it that way. It's a little quicker. Just be careful. Once it gets all the way down, just give it a couple turns. Just put a little pressure on it. And then this crank is for the front tongue jack. So if your battery dies or if the fuse blows, you can't get power, this little plug comes out, and then there's a little drive nut right there that this end right here will go on, and then you can crank it up and down manually. And that plug, when you're done, just goes back. Every year, maybe once or twice a year, it's always good. Spray a little WD-40 or some spray silicone just to grease it so that it doesn't rust up. And same with this right here. Just spray it a little bit and run it up and down a couple times just to get it greased. And then in the storage compartment, you have a couple light switches. So that one right there is for the LEDs here. And then this one right here, you have a little light there, and there's another one on the other side. And then you have a plug right here. So this is pre-wired for solar charging. It's a Zamp solar charger. So if you want to get one, just make sure you're looking for a Zamp solar charger, because that's what it's pre-wired for. And that is basically just a trickle charger for your battery. So if you're dry camping at a state park, or if you're just at home or somewhere where you don't have power hookups, it'll keep your battery charged so you can use your lights and your water pump and your furnace and your gas for the fridge and stuff. And that's everything outside with the 19 ERD. In the next video, we'll move inside.